The Ministry of Education has recently abolished the no-detention policy for students in class 5 and 8 of all central government schools. However, Tamil Nadu Education Minister has said that the state will continue to follow the no-detention policy up to class 8. The centre's decision to end the no-detention policy means that students who fail their year-end exams will not automatically be promoted to the next class. Instead, they will have another chance to improve their performance. The policy was scrapped after an amendment to the Right to Education Act was approved in 2019. The no-detention policy was introduced in 2009 under the Right to Education Act, which aimed to provide free and compulsory education to every child up to class 8. The primary goal of the policy was to prevent students from being held back due to poor academic performance, as this was seen as a major factor contributing to school dropouts. However, many states opposed the policy, arguing that it left students ill-prepared for board exams and contributed to higher failure rates in class 10. More than 15 states have already scrapped the no-detention policy. Further, 2 union territories have also discontinued the policy. Notably, Haryana and Puducherry are yet to make a decision regarding the implementation of this policy. This change, however, affects more than 3,000 schools that are run by the central government, including Kendriya Vidyalayas and Sainik schools. States and union territories can continue to decide whether they want to continue with the policy or end the same for the schools that are run by the states. But what really is the basis for which the central government has taken this decision, which I've just explained, has already been taken by several states and union territories. Meanwhile, why exactly is Tamil Nadu not really in the favor of scrapping the no-detention policy? We take all of these conversations and questions forward. I have with me Savio Rodriguez of the BJP. We have Lakshmi Ramachandar of the Congress. We have Krishna Singh Kumar from the Kumar Mangalam School. He is a principal. We have Dinkar Pandey, a parent, and Naina Nagpal, also a teacher at the Modern Public School. Let me begin this conversation, if I can, with some of our school teachers and principals who are with us. Mr. Krishna Singh, I want to understand from you, sir. In 2009, a policy was brought in wherein it was said that we must not hold back children due to their poor academic performance, as this could contribute to school dropouts. But do you think that that policy really addressed the actual problems behind poor performances that we see in a lot of government schools today? This question is for Krishna Singh.
Yeah, okay. Good evening. So
Yes.
I'm in this favor that there should
Ma'am,
be
before we
detention
begin, I'm going to
policies.
request you to just rotate your phone, please. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm in favor that there should be detention, and we should always in favor to have detention because schools are facing a lot of problem. Some parents are also taking it very lightly that the child will not be detained till class 8. And when they will be sent to classes 9, they pass out 9, then reach to 10, so their performance goes down. So that is affecting their cognitive skills, and they are not able to cope up with the pressure in class 11. And then the performance of these students really go down, and that is affecting again the child's, these children, they have low esteem and they are not able to socially interact it well with their peer group and all. So it's better they should repeat a class. They should be detained in the classes if they are not performing well. And the school as well as parents should join their hands together and work hard on the areas of improvement of such students.
Okay, all right. Let me also bring in Naina Nagpal into the conversation. Naina Nagpal, what are your thoughts on this particular policy? Do you feel that a no detention policy does more good or does it do more harm to a child?
Namaskar everyone, this is Naina Nagpal from Modern Public School, Shalimar Bagh, Delhi. And while speaking on the no detention policy, see how I perceive it to be that it has both the challenges and opportunities to be considered. if we talk about not detaining a child in a particular class, then we should focus on clearing the concepts of the child. We should focus on the holistic development of the child. While if we think of detaining the child, then in that case, we have an academic pressure coming in, a stress coming in the child and his family of repeating a class. So why not work on a policy wherein we focus on the holistic development of the child while giving him a stress-free environment?
Savio, let me bring you into the conversation. Savio, what exactly was the delay in the centre then deciding to scrap this policy, which was already approved in 2019? Why exactly have we really waited?
For us to understand in this situation, there are points of contentions on both sides for the detention policy and the no detention policy. And most of the points are valid on both the sides. So it's a very fine line of trying to understand what should we as the government, what should parents and what should schools and teachers actually achieve as far as a student is concerned. So there are, it's a very, very tricky situation because you could have one aspect of it where you talk about the fact that a child needs to be competitive, and that's what examinations in schools do. They make children competitive and prepare them for the competitions that are going to be in their life. And therefore, by not allowing them to be a part of that competition within that school level, can in the future might hamper their ability to compete at a national level or at a global level in the global competitive world that we are in. But then you have the other aspect, which is what is it that we are bringing as far as failure to the mind of the student, and how are we going to be able to inculcate the better learning in them. So the larger issue to the country, more than the no detention or detention policy, is what are we doing as government, schools and teachers to improve and identify the skills that might lie inside a student rather than the academic conundrum that we put on students. For example, maybe a child is great in art but may not necessarily be good in mathematics, and that is the skill development we should be able to understand at a school level. Because what happens is today we are churning out students that when they pass class 10 and 12, not many of them are sure what they want to do with their life, and therefore get into streams that they choose may not be something that they are really skilled at. For example, maybe somebody is taken science, but the real skill in that person is in art, but nobody's identified that. So the idea for detention or no detention policy is about trying to say, okay, we build up really competitive children. I think that's one part of it. The larger part of it is, are we at a school level, at a government level, having initiatives within the schools itself to be able to identify skills? Because what schools are supposed to do is create skills in students, because we need skilled manpower, educated skilled manpower that need to come out in service of the country. For example, let's take, we are talking about artificial intelligence, which is revolutionizing the world. Are we equipping our children to be tuned to artificial intelligence? Are they opting for that subject? Are they being told, or for that matter, robotics? Tomorrow, you're going to see the world of robotics. Are we skilling our students? And this is not in the schools or colleges where you get the best of education, but this is at a even government level school where you can identify talent, and talent is available in this country across. So I'm certainly in for saying, okay, you have to be competitive, you need to have competition, and therefore it is necessary to not have a lackadaisical attitude coming in parents as well as teachers saying, okay, there is a no detention policy, so we will pass through. Competition is required, but more than the competition, what is required is the ability for us to identify skills.
Right.
And sadly, that is lacking in this country at this point of time.
Okay, I want to bring in Lakshmi Ramachandran into the conversation as well. Lakshmi Ramachandran, the Tamil Nadu government has sort of called out the central government for the decision that has been taken, and they've said that if children do fail to clear exams, it can create a big stumbling block for children from poor families in getting educated without any hassles up to class 8. What is firstly the Congress party's views on the same, and would you agree with your alliance partner in Tamil Nadu?
Good evening. So we are talking about grades 5 to 8, that is age group 10 to 13, am I correct? So at this stage, if the children have to repeat a grade, if a fifth grader fails and in the year-end exam, and the person has to repeat, and the student has to repeat the grade, and at this stage, they are not self-directed learners. We should also understand that there could be late bloomers, children who understand the value of education, putting it that hours of study after school, asking for extra help. All this comes with age. As they grow, they acquire these skills. From 5th grade to 8th grade, if this a child in a government school is lacking on such things, and because of which he or she fails, it does not reach the age level proficiency in a particular subject, and because of which if the child is detained in a class, do you think the parents, especially parents who send their children to public schools, they will have the ability to understand this, support the child? What will happen is this will only lead to dropout. You fail, you detain them once, maybe they will get, the parents may, give them some nice beatings at home. And the second time, the same thing happens, the child will be stopped from going to school. Think of girl children, the first thing that parents would do is, no, I don't think she is, academically, anything is possible by her, let's just stop her from going to school, and let's, get her employed or get her married. And that will be the attitude. So we should understand the vast diversity of population that public schools cater to. So this kind of detention can lead to mental health issues, can lead to low self-esteem. Even if they repeat the grade, they will be with students who are younger than them. They, with fifth standard, they are fifth grade, they are detained. Then they will be with their juniors. So think of the, socially they can become misfits.
Okay.
There's low self-esteem that these children will suffer from.
Okay.
So the modern approach to this is, many public schools in Western countries have something called summer school. If you're less proficient in one subject, say math or say language, they compensate by sitting with the respective subject specialists during the summer, acquire the skills. That proficiency gap is bridged through extra help. So that is the kind of system that we should devise, not detain children, especially at that young age.
Okay, but Lakshmi Ramachandran, have you read some of the pointers of the new policy? The fact that that's precisely what the center. But that's what.
And I think Tamil Nadu government in its communication.
Lakshmi Ramachandran, at least let me complete, ma'am. Lakshmi Ramachandran, one second. Mr. Ramachandran, let me complete. My point was that that's precisely what the center is also proposing. That if you fail in a particular class, you're given 2 months to buck up and to give that exam once again.
That is good. If that is there, it is good. But detention is not good. Detention is not
okay, good. I want to bring Savio back into the conversation. Savio, I want to understand, is there any data or any numbers that have been accumulated over the years which prove the fact that perhaps that keeping a child, regardless of their academic performance, allowing them to continue up till class 8, how many such children have actually managed to then flourish or do well as far as their class 10 board exams or class 12 board exams are concerned? Is there some data basis which some of these decisions have been taken? Because that's precisely what the Congress also has to say, right? They're saying that there are some children that are late bloomers that may not want to perform until they have to perform.
Well, at this point of time, I really don't have the data with me, but I believe if a decision is taken and a policy decision has been taken, then the government would have had to have the corresponding data which would have led them to arrive at this decision. But having said that, let's understand one thing. We're all focused on just pass and fail. Okay, that's not the identity of a child, whether the child passes or whether the child fails. I mean, I can give you examples from my life when I was growing up, where I've seen a child who had failed, and this was like 20, 25 years ago when I was in school, right? So when a child, failed and was detained, that child did not become unsuccessful. He went on to be very successful after he completed his education. So everything is not black and white. It's about understanding what that child is, and that is where we fail as a government, as a school, or as teachers in identifying the skills within a particular child, because we are putting all of them onto a rat race.
Okay,
It's like putting rats on a Ferris
yes,
wheel and
but
everybody's
Savio,
going round and
are
round.
our
The
schools,
idea is, let's understand skilling.
are our public schools really equipped to do what we're envisioning here?
No, we should equip them to do that. That's what I'm saying. Please understand that today the world is progressing faster than we have anticipated it for the last 20, 30 years. So education today has to keep up with the times of where the world is moving. And one of the uniqueness of education is identifying skill sets in children at a young age itself, because many of them may not be understood. I'll give you a classic example from my life as well. My elder daughter was not good in maths, and she went for coaching in a particular coaching class. The teacher at that coaching class was atrocious to her, and at one point of time told me, take her out. I told my kid in front of her that you don't know my daughter and she will turn around. My kid turned around in mathematics like this, and she was one of the top performers in the state. The point is this: it's an ability of the teachers, the school, and for us at a government level to be able to understand what a particular child wants, and the training of the teachers in this is very important. So while we are trying to train, pass and fail the student, I think we have to learn to pass and fail the teacher as well, to train them to identify what skill sets are required in a child. Not everybody is going to become an Einstein, but you're going to have a Michelangelo as well over there. So identify them, identify skills. And
Okay.
that is what education is about.
Okay, I want to bring in Mr. Dinkar Pandey as well, who's a parent. Mr. Pandey, I want to understand from you, perhaps we are having an entirely wrong conversation here because we're so focused on the detention versus no detention policy. But I want to understand from you, the premise of our conversation really has to change. Would you willingly send your children to a public school in India?
Very tricky question. But before coming to that, let me come to the specific point which government raised this time. The education policy doesn't get changed in course of 2 or 3 years or 4 years. It requires a lot of patience, data, and deliberations. Now, there is a paradox in decision where one is saying that student will not be failed, they will be given second chance, and then you are saying that they will not be thrown out of school. Where the student will sit in those 2 months where you have failed, in next class or previous class. If they pass, then whether they will join next class or not. There is admission policies as well for vacant seats, and there are dropouts as well. So schools compensate that. Within those 2 months, if schools will fill that seat, where the student will sit. Whether in class of 30, you will try to accommodate 40 or 50 students, where would teachers per student ratio will go? Now, coming back to the other question, failing in primary classes like this have a significant negative psychological impact on a child. It may lead to decreased self-esteem, anxiety, and feeling of inadequacy and fear of failure. I don't know how they will cope up with it, but they will feel like they're not smart enough or good enough compared to their peers. They might have pressure to perform well, and it will impact their concentration and learning ability. There would be social withdrawal for this. And the factors are like in certain young age, you cannot decide on grades. Gentleman Savio was saying that you have not to decide based on grades, but ability. But government policy says otherwise. You are treating kids like experimental thing. It should not be there. In same government in 2019 you are bringing one policy, and within 3-4 years do you have enough data to change that? No. In this case there should be early interventions, like they have proven mechanism in other countries, like you were asking about Indian public schools. Do we have enough infra? In how many government blocks or how many districts you have sufficient government school either by state or center to accommodate even 25% of kids? You have central schools, you have Navodaya Vidyalayas, and you have certain district schools, right? But how many kids are there and how many seats in those schools are required? Do we have any data? Do we have any statistics with the government,
Okay,
either
all right.
central or state?
So important, pertinent points raised. I want to bring Krishna Singh back into the conversation. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to rotate your camera once again. Krishna Singh, I want to understand from you. Mr. Dinkar Pandey just raised a pertinent point about the psychological impact of failing a child in a very young class. I want to now flip it to the other side. As far as success and failure are concerned, of course, societal constructs, but at the same time also very adult concepts. Is it not the parents who make a child understand what success and failure is at that young age? And do you then think that somewhere the government perhaps should also look at sensitizing parents, educating parents in the process by saying that if we are retaining your child back in a class, don't be too harsh on them because we want to give them an opportunity to learn. So it has to be a larger comprehensive conversation rather than us saying let's continue to keep granting a child the next step and a step above in the education ladder. And then by the time they come to class 10 and class 12, when it's really serious studies, then we'll figure it out at that point in time.
Yes, I would like to, apprise you here that it's not a detention for the entire year. The child will be getting a chance to reappear in the same examination of the subject, right? And then the parents to be counseled. See, these are the, in fact, in public schools, in good schools, the parents are given feedback right from the beginning of the session that your child is lacking here in this particular skill, especially if we talk about mathematics. So the basic concepts are not so good as compared to other children, and the schools where we have 30 students in one class, so the teacher is able to identify these children if the policy will be continued, right? So the school will be more careful and look after the children, and feedback of the students performance to be given in time to the parents, and join hands with the parent and strategize a strategy with the parents. See, we look after your child here. You come and sit with the child in the school on the day of remedial classes are happening, or after school, or during their morning sports, right? So in this manner the parent will be able to get into this how school is or how teacher is teaching to my child, rather than promoting the child, and the child will not able to get anything when we are talking about skills and competencies, and the child will suffer a lot in higher classes. So we are supposed to understand here that it's not a psychological. We elders are supposed to understand. We are supposed to motivate and encourage the child. And slowly and gradually, if the child will be focused right from the beginning of the session, so they will, maybe the same child will be able to show good improvement in that subject rather than securing 2 marks or 3 marks, and the percentage is less than 33 percentage. So the school will be more careful, because every school has to answer to the parents, especially public school. The parent will never appreciate the school where the children are not, getting extra time if they're struggling with this. And in this manner, both the parties will be more careful. Otherwise, if some of the parents and some of the teacher will say, okay, let them be promoted. And then when they will come in class 10th and 9th, so then they are going to be feedback to be given that your child can't manage mathematics. And CBSE has also so many policies where they are getting a lot of, like, if the child, there are two reasons why the child is not performing. Either the child is indisciplined or the child has some learning disability. So that has to be identified. If the child has some learning disability, not able to do calculation, not able to write, not able to retain the knowledge, so then there are a lot of options available for these students where they are talking about skill subjects and all. So the children will be given some extra classes, and so that they will be able to acquire a skill, like sir just said, artificial intelligence. So these
Yes.
children are very good at computers, so the computer classes, the computer subject will be given to them. CBSE has also introduced 10 skill subjects, which is talking about their vocational knowledge. So why the child will not be getting one of the subject, and then the child will be able to do very well? Because it's not necessary the children who are being detained right now, they can't do anything in life. It's better to give them feedback, and they should be given extra time, right? That your examination will be rescheduled, and then your child will be promoted if the child will be. So then extra classes, the school and the parents
Right.
will be more careful. This is my perception
Absolutely.
about.
I want to leave the last word with Naina Nagpal, who's a teacher herself. Naina Nagpal, from a teacher's perspective, I want your opinion. Is it more helpful for a child to get the attention that they perhaps need in a particular subject at the right time? Or do you also agree that sometimes children just end up taking studies a lot more seriously when there are serious exams, and that detaining them in a smaller class could possibly negatively impact them?
Ma'am, in my opinion, what I feel is that it's very important to identify the root cause of this learning disability and then provide that additional support. Adding to what ma'am has said, yes, it's equally important to identify what, everybody cannot be an Einstein. Adding to what Mr. Savio has already said, even Michelangelo is equally a genius. So we have to identify these multiple intelligences, and we are all talking about the detention policy, how the child is to be given additional support. But don't you think that we have to also talk about the assessment policy? We cannot ask everyone to just climb the wall and judge them on their running skill. Can we not talk about the differentiated assessment policy as well? So what we need to have is to have a balanced approach of both detention and non-detention, and come on a holistic approach to formulate a policy where we have the skill as well incorporated in, bringing in the assessment also, which is a differentiated assessment. So when we talk about differentiated learning, we have to talk about differentiated assessment as well. I think the universities, the policymakers, the schools have to come together to bridge this gap. This is what I believe.
Okay, all right. On that, I've completely run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast to bring forward their points of views on what's happening as far as the education policy is concerned. With that, a very short break.